Today, I wanted to do a painting about toxic positivity. It's something that I've been recently learning more about, and I realized that it's definitely a trait that I have. I always thought it was good just to be positive no matter what, but I'm starting to learn more about the negative effects of this toxic positivity and how pushing things down and not feeling feelings just because they're uncomfortable actually does more harm long term and can negatively affect people around you. So I wanted to kind of try and paint that and start off with a face that'll be the center part of the painting and try to work around and see if I can add aspects that show this kind of weird, hard to explain trait. In a lot of my past videos I've been doing some fun challenges that kind of got me back into painting. I hadn't done it for a while, so I was doing some things just to kind of get me back into it and finish a few pieces, but I wanted to go back into the reason that I started it in the first place, which is just to work through some stuff in a different way. I find that my mind just kind of wanders and I kind of think through problems or experiences or just feelings that I'm feeling as I'm painting. And sometimes I don't even realize that I'm in a certain mood or thinking about something until I start painting and I kind of think through it. So it's kind of nice. It gives me something to do instead of just sitting and thinking. So I wanted to do that as I try and create this central theme around the toxic positivity. And my goal is to be able to have enough aspects that when you look at it, that's what you can see, or at least when I look at it, I can see that, and it kind of represents the feelings that I feel around it, even if it's different for everyone. I want to be able to see it and realize that I've been kind of working through this and trying to learn a little bit more about myself through it. The goal and kind of common theming I was trying to go for here was a face that looks overwhelmed but is trying to stay happy while things are kind of imploding in the background and happening that are either scary or intense, and just kind of showing, I guess, more of the end result of toxic positivity on things aren't good, but you're too overwhelmed to deal with the emotions because you've been pushing them down so long. So that's kind of the theme I'm going with. We'll see if it can relate to that. So I'm kind of filling in some colors and aspects to see which areas I have, or then I'll definitely try to have more planned out elements to have that kind of positive and negative aspect in both. I think the most challenging part about this one is going to be representing that difference from the happiness to the things that are going wrong in the background, and basically just representing the theme and the difference. So we're going to see how that goes, and I definitely need to think of a few more things to show that and a few aspects to layer on it. Kind of doing this little hot air balloon that's on fire, and I wanted the face to kind of look a little bit fed up, almost representing like the people around you if you're just always positive, but not to be positive, but just to push down those emotions. It's funny because a lot of my life I was definitely more negative and saw the bad side of things. And I made a huge effort to change that and become positive and always try and be happy. And now I'm learning about the negative results of that and that there needs to be a balance and being able just to sit with your feelings. So I guess in this learning about toxic positivity, it's kind of forcing me to learn more about the traits that I have, that there's always a balance, and just going either always negative or always positive isn't going to be healthy, no matter which one you choose. And I think there's definitely a reason why I choose those negatives or positives and those extremes. So I definitely want to dive into that more and see if I can find a happy balance. Right now, I like how the painting is looking so far. The one thing I'm concerned about is that the common theme and topic of this painting isn't coming through. Right now, it just looks like a chaotic painting with chaotic faces and bright colors. So once I add in some more colors, I'm gonna add some more elements that show that toxic positivity quality, and definitely have to think about what I can do to get that point across. In my paintings a few years ago, I sometimes wrote words on it, but I'm trying to get away from that and actually force myself to create the details and aspects and color scheme to get the theming of the painting across, instead of just writing toxic positivity or positivity on like a toxic waste container. That's stuff I would have done in the past and it looked cool, but I definitely want to work more on the messaging and how to actually paint that emotion without spelling it out. So this is going to be a fun challenge and kind of a cool way for me to learn a little bit more about this topic, and also learn on how to get these points across through painting and visuals only. So now I'm adding more detail to this bottom part. I want to add a second face so it gives someone more to look at in that bottom corner. I'm carefully picking the colors to make sure they're not all too dark or too bright close to each other. So I'm just going in and doing that, adding some of those clouds to that other one. I want to have the clouds and nice sky contrast with the fire and bring that back to the theme of toxic positivity, kind of looking at the toxic happiness while bad things are going on. So I really want to make sure I'm not missing that core theme of the painting. So I want to make sure I'm putting enough in there. And I like the texture of the clouds too. So it's kind of a win-win. I need to add more theming around it. I need to have more kind of chaotic, apocalyptic type things to give that negative part, because I want to have that main face in the middle be the center and all the negative stuff around it. And it doesn't necessarily look happy with the face in the middle, but I'm going to try to add some other details to make it more like a contrast from happy to negative. But for now, I'm just going through and adding more details and trying to add some of those elements that'll show that either positive and negative together or negative happening around the face. So this one's actually a lot tougher than I thought it would be, just to get the theming consistent. And I guess it doesn't have to be exactly the first thing someone thinks about is, oh, that's toxic positivity. But I guess it's more for me to work through that and reflect a little bit on my own toxic positivity tendencies as I'm doing this. So I'm going to really try to stick to the theming, but not get too caught up with that to the point where I'm not completing the painting and using different aspects and elements that I can see where they would work. It's kind of funny, I didn't even know toxic positivity was a thing or a used term until I was talking to someone a few weeks ago, and just kind of updating them on what's going on in my life and changes and all that. And he brought it up and he's like, oh, do you think you sometimes are, toxically positive? And I was kind of confused. Then after chatting a little bit about it more, I realized that in the last few years especially, I have had these tendencies just to completely push away the negative, which I thought was winning because I used to be so negative that I'm like, oh, I'm always positive, this is great. But definitely carry that internal stress. You don't just get to pick and choose whether things bother you or not. And I think that toxic positivity has had that negative impact where things fester and kind of trains the brain that it's not okay to feel negativity or anxious or angry or sad thoughts. And I'm kind of seeing that come to light now. So it was really interesting to learn more about this topic and learn more about what toxic positivity looks like and how it can affect people around you. And again, it's weird. It seems like, oh, don't you want to be positive? But there's a time and a place to feel all the emotions, and I'm just learning that now. And it's fun and interesting to learn about, but in those moments, I definitely have to catch myself and be more aware of, am I being positive and happy and seeing this with a good lens, or am I just pushing it down and having that toxicity creep through with it? I have a few ideas on different little details that I can add to support the theme of the painting. But for now, I'm just adding a few little patterns and areas that help the colors complement and contrast with each other. So I'm going through there, I have a few kind of hidden faces that I'm gonna put in and a few little textures I'm adding. And I'm just trying to plan where these aspects are gonna go and how I want them to look. And I like the spacing of it so far. Definitely have a few open parts that I'm gonna have to add some white to. Definitely the darker colors that there's a lot of space. I'm gonna add some white details and make those pop out a little bit more. This aspect in the top left was a fun one. I was initially going with like an ocean wave type color, then add a face in it after. As I was doing it, I realized it kind of looks like a bird. So I'm gonna have that as the main one and have a little boat coming down from it to show that it's a wave as well. And I kind of liked the way it looked, so I just leaned into it there. I'm gonna go back and add more of a little boat kind of riding the wave out to give it more of the theming. Now I'm going through and doing some outlines and details with the white. Find with the green, the white really pops out. So initially I had these little balloon faces as a black outline, but I like the way the white looks with it. I've been working more on not having dark colors on dark colors because it just kind of washes each other out. So this white is popping out really nicely, and I'm gonna have that a happy face to have that contrast to the negatives around it. Then same thing here with this green area. I had an idea to kind of have a storm around these little balloon looking things that are directly impacting it, and kind of lean in more to that negative feelings and negative part of the toxic positivity theme. So I want to do some clouds, some storm clouds, and have it white as a base, or then add more colors. So just going in and filling in that. It's not looking exactly how I wanted, but as I fill in the colors, I'm not too sure how I feel, but we're gonna see how it works. I might outline it as well. I guess it doesn't have to be fully obviously a cloud because I have a few of those in the other parts. But we're gonna come back to that and add more details there. Now I'm just adding in some extra little parts to the other faces, so they're obviously faces, and texturing on some more colors in some other parts. Before I'm doing some other planned out aspects, I'm just going in and filling some open space, contrasting the bright and dark colors together. And I like doing these little designs and having them just kind of sit there and have a bit of that abstract feel to the piece. Now I'm going in and just adding a few little faces and little details and extra parts where I see it, and going through and going over some of the lines to make it a little more clean. I like the way the fire and the hot air balloon face looks. And now just going through, there's a bit of open space in the top. So I'm just adding some patterns and little kind of contrast parts to make sure that it's not just an open, boring space. And I thought I'd have happy faces and sad faces in the middle of the main face, just to kind of bring it back to that theme of toxic positivity. I definitely want to do more of these paintings that are centered around a theme like this. I think I could get a lot better at maybe planning out a few aspects that I think have that meaning that would fit the theme of the painting. I think this one is good, and it was a good way for me just to like think through some of my toxically positive attributes and just kind of learn more and think more about what toxic positivity is and how it affects my life. And that itself is a good reason to do the painting, but I think it'd be kind of cool to get better at doing a painting with a theme and making it obvious that it's that without spelling it out. And I think that's harder to do than I thought it would be, so it'll be a fun challenge to kind of go through and see how I can plan those out while maintaining the abstract feel and style that I like to have. So now I'm just going in and doing a few final little touch-ups. A few of the little clouds that I see I'm adding some rain to kind of give it that stormy feel. Adding more of a face structure in this little area, and I don't want to do too many things. I think it would get too busy, so I'll probably just go in and make sure I'm kind of putting in these fun details here, then finish it up. I think it's pretty close to being done, and I don't know what theme I want to do next, but I want to try another one of these because it challenged me a little bit more to think more about the aspects that I'm doing and not just go fully random. So that'll be fun to do in the future. And I don't know how I would change the colors. I like the colors that I used. I feel like it's bright, but also has some of those darker blended colors. So I like the color scheme of it, but maybe for the next one, I'll try to make it a little more abstract, or then just have a few pieces that are more planned out within it, or things that I can look at the painting and see the way the paint dried and have some of those aspects that will fit the theme. So now I'm just finishing these last details and signing it at the bottom corner, and I'm happy how this one turned out. I like the colors, I like how it looks. I like the little hot air balloon one, I like the clouds that I was using. It's a good start, I think, for picking these themes, and I think I can definitely get a lot better at it, but it was a fun one to do.